in a position, have the opportunity to ask questions regarding your petition. Once we receive public testimony on a particular item, members of the board will deliberate and we will render our decision. I'll remind any member with a personal or a financial interest in any request you're required to recuse yourself from voting. Any testimony submitted by the petitioner on behalf of the petitioner during the presentation of the agenda item will be binding as to any decision the board makes relative to the motion. I'll remind the members of the board that if a motion to deny an item is made, a reason must be given. This time I'll introduce the members of the board that are here today. Ms. K.T. Brown, our Vice Chairman, Mr. Nathan Williams, Ms. Jennifer Shaw, Mr. Bart Prince, Mr. George Howell Jr., and I'm John Stanley, your Chairman. Planning Control staff is Ms. Helen Milligan and Tanya Ingram, Recording Secretary. I will mention to you that it requires 5 votes to approve a motion. We have 6 members here tonight. If you feel as though that might hurt your opportunity for your petition to be approved, you may withdraw and delay it to the next meeting. If you care to do that, see Tanya over here and we'll move you to the next meeting. Otherwise, it takes 5 votes to approve a motion, not a majority. Tanya, would you give us a report on any items that have been withdrawn?
Item number 2, which was a space and variance for a billboard on Chantilly Parkway, has been withdrawn.
Okay. So if you're here in regards to that particular item, it is withdrawn indefinitely and will not be heard tonight. Any questions? Okay, we'll get started. Item number 1 is presented by Jason Martin.
We didn't have prayer.
The what? Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself here. We always start our meeting with prayer and the pledge. So I'm going to ask Ms. Brown to open our meeting with prayer.
If you'll bow your head, please, we must remember the Lord. And we hopefully ask you to forgive us for not remembering to honor you before we get this meeting started. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Please stand with me as we pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll reread item number 1 again, presented by Jason Martin, requesting a special exception for chickens, goats, horses, and pigs to be located at 3128 Old Selma Road in an R75S single-family residential zoning. This item was delayed from the August 17th meeting to be reheard again, with the request, Mr. Martin, that you get with your neighbors and see if y'all could come up with something that's acceptable to both of you, because there was some opposition here last time. So if you would tell us, have y'all been able to work anything out?
Unfortunately, with my schedule, I haven't had time to meet with anybody, sir. I do apologize. Been busy. We're trying to do some renovations on the house. We're on a tight timeline there, and unfortunately Hurricane Irma kind of put a crimp in a lot of my plans with the FEMA activities going on at work and whatnot. But I have tried to mitigate some of those concerns. We've planted nearly 50 Leland cypress along our property lines. We've moved our animals way into the back into a wooded area that cannot be seen, heard, or smelled.
Okay. If you could speak a little more clearly and directly into the mic.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I need to restate all that.
Yeah, if you would, please.
All right, I have been unable or have not had opportunity to meet with any neighbors, simply due to work schedule and personal schedules at the house. We have, however, managed to plant 50 some odd Leland cypress along fence rows and moved animals into a wooded area further back into our property away from, nobody could ever know they're there.
I do think that I requested that you consider reducing the population at least, not saying that that would resolve the issue.
It has
Have you
been.
done some of that? or
Yes, sir, we
considered
have.
that?
We've gotten rid of one of the horses. The chickens, we've gotten rid of a few of those. The pigs, we're still, my sister-in-law is supposed to be coming from North Carolina and in-law things, so she just hasn't made it here to get it, but she's supposed to be coming to get some of those.
So then what would the head count be?
Two
How many
Two.
chickens?
chickens, about estimating at 20, around 20.
Well,
I haven't counted them, sir. I don't know
well,
specifically. but
if
it's-
we approve,
Yes, sir.
we're going to limit it to X number, okay?
Yes, sir.
Not approximately, but X.
I
That's normally
understand.
the way we do it. So give me, so that we all know what you're willing to
20.
do. 20
Yes, sir.
goats?
Only need one,
1? Miniature horses?
2.
No pigs?
No pigs.
No. Did I hear you say,
I have pigs.
oh, so 2
I would like to
pigs?
keep 2 pigs for
Okay.
future
2
family
pigs.
consumption. Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's what your request is.
Sure. Yes, sir.
20 chickens, 1 goat, 2 miniature horses, and the possibility of having 2 pigs at a future date. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other comments you'd like to make before I ask anybody on the board here if they got any questions? Okay.
No, sir.
Anyone on the board care to ask questions? I'll see if there's any opposition here.
I'll wait until after the opposition. if
Anyone
there is
else
any.
got a question, George?
Your pigs. Pigs can be that big or that big. What size are yours?
About just tall, about that wide, and about that long.
What kind are they? Are they pot-bellied pigs? Are they?
They're going to be bigger. Couldn't tell you how big they are. We're raising them for food one day. We
Okay.
believe in a whole. It's part of how we eat, and it's very, very hard to find pork. It's
Okay.
a lot easier to raise it yourself.
So you're raising pigs to eat.
Yes, sir.
Where are you gonna butcher them when the time comes?
There's outfits up above Birmingham that do that for you. You just carry it to them.
Okay.
There's several of them in the state, actually.
Okay. Thank you. That's.
I know it's against the law to butcher them in the city limits. I know that. You don't want to be yourself.
I didn't know that, but
Well, it's in your ordinances anyhow.
well, I've seen people butcher pigs and it is a mess. So that's okay.
I don't want no part of it personally.
Mr. Prince?
Another question, you say you're going to have them for food, so that means once you raise them and get them edible size, you're going to get 2 more?
Possibly, yes, sir. If it works out all right. This is my first venture into pigging deal.
Any other questions before I call for any opposition?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You said that you're raising these pigs so that you can have, these pigs will have other pigs when they get older.
Not necessarily, no, ma'am. We just raise them up to eating size and send them to a butcher.
And so once you get rid of these 2, you're not going to get any more?
We may, if we're allowed to, but we're also, this is my first time I've ever raised pigs. I don't know how aggravating this whole process is going to be. Right now, it's not a problem at all, but if it gets to be aggravating, I don't do aggravation. So I can't promise you I'm going to do it again, but the intent would be yes.
Oh, it can be very aggravating with me. I know. But, and if they have pigs, you know, if you have some little piggies, what are you going to do with those?
Well, it's not very hard to sell those.
Oh, it's not?
No, ma'am.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. Is any, Mr. Howell?
I think you told us last time your horses are miniature horses.
Yes, sir.
How big is that?
I'd say at the withers, the back, is around this high. I can nearly stand over them, straddle,
Okay.
and not put any weight on them.
All right.
Okay. Is anyone in the audience care to address this item? For or against? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Oops, excuse me. Good evening. My name's Dr. Donna Nelson, and I live at 3144 Old Selma Road. I've been at that address since 1989, about 28 years. And I recently became aware of the property that's in question at 3128 Old Selma Road about a month and a half ago, when I saw horses grazing in the front yard, and they were considerably taller than this. They were about this high or so. And I also saw chickens in the front yard and running around in the driveway, along with a lot of other paraphernalia and RVs and so forth that go along with that. So I immediately used my 311 app and voiced my concern that way. And so I waited a while for a response, and then I was told that it was taken care of through an email. And sure enough, I didn't see the horses anymore in the front, but I still saw chickens, and then from what I understand, as Mr. Martin mentioned, they were put in the back. So they're really still there. The problem really hasn't gone away. This is a residential neighborhood, and I'm against allowing this exception to the city ordinance, which would allow farm animals 2 doors down from my property. And we're only about 3.5 miles away from downtown Montgomery, which is presently experiencing a rebirth. And I want my neighborhood to reap the benefits of being so close to this downtown revitalization. But having the farm animals rather, and the problems that are brought with them are going to have a negative effect on the community and not a positive one. The smells, the animal sounds, and then most importantly, the increased rates of serious health problems associated with agricultural life. I read some studies that mentioned there's higher rates of diabetes, brain defects, cancer, and even the autism rate is 7 times higher in children living near agricultural areas. And right now I'm pretty healthy, especially for my age, and I want myself and my family to remain that way. And then there's also the issue of property devaluation. I recently added on to my property, and of course that would increase the value of my home, and I don't want my property to be devalued because of a farm in the neighborhood. And actually right now on the Old Selma Road, we're already contending with a hodgepodge of old mobile homes on both sides of the street, transient renters who don't take as much pride in the neighborhood as we do. And I don't want to have to contend with the farm also. And it's for these reasons that I object, and I would have voiced my objection at last month's meeting, but the sign notifying us that something was going on at that location was only there for a few days. It wasn't there for a week or more like they normally are. Sometimes the nearest neighbors, I have received a letter in the mail concerning other issues. I never received a letter in the mail, and at the time I personally had cell phone issues, so by the time I realized that the meeting had come and gone. But that's my stance, and I do not want the farm animals in the neighborhood.
Dr. Nelson, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Would there be any number of any of these animals that you would be okay with? For example, chickens. We have a chicken ordinance in Montgomery, and there are chickens in areas all over Montgomery.
I've been noticing that, and in my particular neighborhood, I've typed in the information on my 311 app on that too, and I don't know what's being done because the chickens still seem to be there, and I haven't heard of any special clearance for these other neighbors. I do not want chickens around there either, so.
Okay. All right. Any questions, Dr. Nelson?
Well, because also, once this is approved, this is like a lifetime approval, basically, correct? There's no, like...
It's an approval for the
Yeah.
property, but under the conditions that we impose, for example, X number of chickens and X number of goats. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how that would really be maintained. You know, if there were a limit on the animals, I don't know who would inspect that, who would follow up, because there are so many issues already in our neighborhood. Nobody's following up on those. I'm pretty sure they're not going to go around and start counting chickens.
Right. I understand. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
Let me ask her a question. I know I came out there to
Yes.
see if I could see the animals, and I know that I also talked with you when you called me over there and said you needed to talk with me. I don't understand why there wasn't a meeting. It seemed as though you don't want to get together and make a decision as to what is happening in the neighborhood. What is the problem?
I don't know. I'm actually much more available than I have been in the past. I recently retired from Montgomery Public Schools August 1st. And so I've been around, so I don't know. I met Mr. Martin that day when I spoke to you, but that was it.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm around.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else care to address this item? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
I'm Tony Richards. I was here during the last meeting, and I just wanted to reiterate that all the things that Dr. Nelson pointed out, I think I covered about 90% of those, plus some others. My stance on the matter has not changed. Again, this is a residential area. I believe I posed a question to you all. If this was your neighborhood, would you want a farm next to your house? And I sense that some of you were okay with it, but the majority of you probably had a little bit of a negative connotation. So, you know, this is the city limit, and as Dr. Nelson indicated, you know, we have issues with the inspector following through on properties that are a nuisance, that are out of code, etc. So if we can't do a good job on that piece, how are we going to regulate and monitor this piece? The other part that I asked is that Mr. Barton threw out some pretty impressive numbers during the last meeting. My question is, where's the study? Where's the pre-study? Where's the post-study that shows that before we put these farm animals in, the insect population was X, and then afterwards, the insect population was Y? I think we need to look at that information, and I think there needs to be some controls. Number one, air quality. How do we control that? Number two, you have airborne pathogens that float over across the different properties as a result of the insects, yada, yada, yada. We need to have controls in place before we approve this thing. And we need to look at, if there was a study conducted, or in this case it would have been two, what was the pre-study results and what was the post-study results? And what do we do with that information? The other thing is, as many of you know, is that anytime you do a study, you need to make sure that the population is wide enough and deep enough so that there is some degree of statistical significance. And if there's not, we must know the hypotheses. So we need to do our due diligence on both sides. We need to have a conversation, but you guys need to do a little further information or information gathering as well. Because controlling this thing, I can see it getting out of hand very quickly. And like I said, we have enough problems that Dr. Nelson and I are trying to turn around. And you know, we don't need to continue to compound the issues that we have within the organization, within the community.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Just
Any questions?
question. Are you familiar with the city's guidelines for chickens?
I have been out and I have read the ordinances.
Okay.
I have also read the different codes.
All right. Are you familiar with those, Mr. Martin? It says if you, we're talking about a 5-acre piece of land here. And if it's a 5-acre piece of land, as I read this, the guidelines for chickens don't apply. It says, except upon property zoned for agricultural use, and we have some of that, or for properties in the residential districts of 5 acres or more, then a parcel is limited, and it gives the table and all that. Anyway, 5 acres of land is a lot of land, and
Mr. Howell, I understand your point, but we have a bit more at hand here than just chickens. We have goats, we have pigs, we have horses.
Yeah, but I think Mr. Howell's referring only to the chicken ordinance.
Well, we have to talk about the entire population.
I understand, but he's making an exception here. He's talking about...
I understand that.
Let me ask Helen and Tanya.
The way I read the guidelines, it's zoned residential.
The reason here is R75 single family.
Yes, if it's zoned residential, you have these guidelines, and the board has to approve.
That 5 acres only applies to agriculturally zoned property. In Mr. Martin's house,
That's the way I
R75
understand
is.
it.
Okay. Is that right? Regardless of the number of acres, because it's R75S,
Is that the way you?
what Mr. Howell just read doesn't apply. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr.
I
Richards.
don't have a question.
Yeah, okay.
I don't have a question, but to my understanding, if you're talking about a neighborhood residence zone, and it's zone for residents, I highly believe and think that if you want to turn into the country, rezone it. Why would you, as the gentleman said, I wouldn't want that in my neighborhood either. And if it's zoned for residents, that's what it should be. I mean, this thing about chicken, I don't think chicken should be in the neighborhood either. Okay, 1, 2, or 3, but that's just, my opinion. But it's still in a neighborhood like that, as the doctor said, that they care about their homes. They don't want to live in the country or move to the country, first of all. So I just, at the last meeting, I was against it then, and I'm against it now. Okay, so that's just my opinion.
I would like to say, after dealing with it, there are too many animals. And when they are let loose, I can see the problem. Since the neighbors are against it, and since they couldn't even get together to discuss the problem that exists, I just don't see it being allowed that it have that many animals next door to neighbors who are saying that it's causing a problem in the neighborhood.
Mr. Richardson,
Mr.
you got something to show?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm addressing this to Mr. Martin. Mr. Martin, would you consider eliminating the goats, the horses, and the pigs, or the goats and the pigs, and maybe just having one horse and your chickens, if?
The biggest thing that I would oppose most adamantly would be the goat, for the simple fact that we have an infant, and that's what we feed that infant, is that goat's milk. For nutritional reasons, for a lot of research I've done, and I won't bore you with any details, but I firmly believe that that is the best thing I can do for my child. And you cannot buy it unpasteurized anywhere. It cannot be purchased. Other than that, if I can't have it, not a farm, I'm not trying to build a farm here. I'm simply trying to build a small homestead, and I've got 5.5 acres. And if you've been out there, it's the edge of the country. It looks country. I'm not trying to devalue anything. I'm trying to improve the health of my land and my family. If you read any studies, you could see the contrary to what they're talking about. They're talking about large confinement operations, and they are bad, and that's exactly what I'm trying to get away from, is feeding my family stuff that's not raised in those environments. Now, if you tell me I can't have it, that's fine. I'm a law and an ordinance abiding citizen that doesn't need to be followed up on. However, if it is the transients you're worried about, if I can't have my life and live at my residence, then it will turn into a rental property, and then you get that many more transients, unfortunately. And I will request a rezone to put more properties or more rental units on it, as my neighbors have on theirs in the single-family residences in that area. I'm not asking for anything odd. It is only in recent years that we've started considering this type of thing odd. These are the things that sustain us.
Okay, but would you definitely consider eliminating the pigs?
If you tell me I have to get rid of them, then I have to. I understand that.
Okay.
But if you go back and you could look at the property, there's no way they can hear, smell. I don't doubt they don't smell something. I smell that paper mill every day. But you cannot smell my animals when you're on top of them. The way I maintain them, so I would just assume, yes, if you tell me I can't have my pigs, I won't have my pigs. I'll get rid of whatever you tell me I need to get rid of. But I would very much like to keep them. That is another thing that is outside of my price range to buy that pastured pork. See, this neighborhood is not a high-income neighborhood. It is full of mobile homes, old mobile homes. It's a lower-income area. Most of us aren't doctors and lawyers that live there. I'm not that either. I'm trying to better my family, and I think I'm improving the neighborhood as well. And as far as the devaluing the area piece, Zillow is the only marker I have. They have this estimate piece on there that is actually pretty accurate if you look into it. And since we've been there, the values of the houses that we're talking about has gone up, not down. So I can't say I'm responsible for bringing those values up, but I can say that I'm not bringing the values down based off of that.
Mr. Martin, this board suggested that you meet with the neighborhood last time.
Yes, sir. The neighbors that called you rather than come to me
here, you know,
and ask, just blindsided me with it.
And then I asked you to consider reducing the population.
And I think I've done that,
This
sir.
board, members on this board, we've been here a long time.
Yes, sir.
We've heard many petitions for chickens, miniature horses,
I'm
guineas,
sure you have.
you name it, we've considered it.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of them we've approved. As many as 5 to 10 chickens in a neighborhood with a lot size 100 feet wide and 200 feet deep, we've approved them under the guidelines. I'm going to ask for a motion that we delay this one more time, asking you and the neighbors to get together to see if you can reach a compromise. Otherwise, we will have to make a decision one way or the other. Would anyone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. All in favor, raise your hand. 5. All opposed. Motion carries.
Very well.
Okay. We see, I think if you'll give me a moment, I think we all see some room to negotiate. How much, we don't know. Okay? But we won't know that until y'all meet. And you won't know that until you meet.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And I just think it's best, we do this often, to try to reach an agreement between the parties. Yes, sir. Dr. Nelson?
Yes. Just this afternoon, I brought some letters down from other neighbors. Have you all considered those?
Yes.
Yes.
Got them right here.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So it's not just the two of us.
No, ma'am.
His
We understand
nearest
that.
We
neighbors.
understand. We would like.
Did you have pictures of the animals being loose?
No, I did not take it.
We've already made our decision, and this hearing is over. But we're going to ask you to do that and come back, and there will not be an additional fee for you to come back. Thank you. Item number 2 has been withdrawn. Item number 3 is presented by Mitchell Fields, representing True Grace Fellowship Community Church, requesting a special exception for a church to be located at 510 Collison Boulevard in a B2 zoning district.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Mr. Fields?
Great, sir. We came to kind of try to get some rezoning.
Speak a little louder and clearer.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I know my voice carrier. I didn't know you couldn't hear me.
Thank you.
I'm Mitchell Fields, the pastor of True Grace Fellowship Community Church, a House of Yahweh. We were requesting rezoning the property here at 510 Coliseum.
Excuse me, you're requesting a special exception, not a rezoning.
Yes. Well, special exception. I'm sorry about that.
Right.
In this property, we have a vision there, and if I could I give you basically the vision that we have for this property, if I may approach?
Sure.
Thank you.
Some of the activities, or more so the type of ministry we are trying to help in the Montgomery area. GD program. We also have a financial class. We also will actually have a job readiness program dealing with those that will come and actually be aided by our ministry. We also have the owner of the building here also. This building has been vacant for about 3 years, and I think we would bring a great asset to that community, offering these programs.
Okay. May I ask a few questions now? Have you made your presentation?
Yes, sir.
All right. I believe the hours of operation are proposed to be Monday through Friday, from
Yes,
7
sir.
a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday and Sundays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're not going to be really having anything at dark. Is that correct? So
Only thing we'll be having fundraisers to actually bring in any funds.
So if you're having anything after dark, what are you doing about lighting your parking lot?
Well, actually, the building has its lighting, and there are 2 poles right out front. We're going to ask Alabama Power to actually instill the lighter bulbs to light up the parking lot even more. But we have lighting outside.
Is the parking lot paved?
Yes, sir.
Is it striped well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Our agenda says you intend to have a food pantry.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What you just gave me says you intend to feed the homeless, needy, and veterans on Thanksgiving Day.
Thanksgiving Day, yes, sir.
Is that it?
Sir?
That's the only day you'll offer a food pantry?
No, sir. No, sir. That's one of the programs that we do every year. Last year we partnered with Angela's Kitchen, and we fed over 1,200 homeless, needy, and veterans at Angela's Kitchen. This year we will actually be able to bring them to that location, set up, and actually even outside having tinny, set up and feed the homeless and those things.
Is that a kitchen? Do you have a kitchen?
No, we have a kitchen inside, but not so much, sir.
That's what I mean. You have a kitchen inside.
Yes, sir.
So you're going to have people come in there to have pick up food?
Yes, sir.
And eat?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Not just on Thanksgiving Day?
No, that would be for Thanksgiving Day. Only time we would have any of those things would be for our fundraisers to actually carry on these programs.
So are you saying this would be basically a food kitchen?
It would be for Thanksgiving Day. The only time that this kitchen would be utilized would be for the fundraisers to actually help carry on these programs. So it would not be every day. This would be a program that's set out for our sponsors. Right now we have about 10 sponsors that actually help sponsor us financially, and basically every year we come together and we actually feed them also. So it's not an everyday that we're going to be feeding.
And then I hear you say you're gonna have a tent, and will you be feeding
That's
people
for
outside?
Thanksgiving. That's for Thanksgiving. We will set up tents because
Thanksgiving, okay, I'm
Yeah,
trying to distinguish between Thanksgiving and when you're gonna be having other food events, okay?
Okay, throughout the year, we will have other food events for the fundraisers. We don't have those dates down, but throughout the year, we will have those. According to the status, I believe church can have 15 fundraisers, so many. So that's how we will actually be able to hire the teachers that will actually teach the GED classes. We will also have the instructor that will actually affiliate with the job readiness program, also the instructor for the financial program.
Okay, well, I just see that as a big event, and I see you don't have a lot of parking on that lot. And if you're gonna have a tent out there, next thing we know, we got a parking problem or traffic problem.
Well, sir, what we'll do, we'll actually take the food to them then.
Well, I'm just looking at that aspect of it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any other questions, board members?
Yeah, I have a question. I have a question. Excuse me. Yes, sir. I know you mentioned Thanksgiving and Christmas. Now that's when you're feeding. You're not like the Salvation Army. You don't feed every day.
Right.
You're just going to feed on those 2 days.
Yes, sir.
Those 2 days.
Yes, sir.
And then that means you have the tent outside to feed hungry and people.
For Thanksgiving only.
That's Thanksgiving only.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I want to clear it up.
Ms. Brown?
How long have you been in operation?
We've been in operation over 9 years.
9 years, okay.
Ms. Shaw?
You said that you did this last year
Yes, ma'am. And the year before that.
and the year before that.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
Was your previous location larger than what you have here?
Well, we utilized Angela's Kitchen at the time, and then actually was smaller. And we was able to set up tables outside. The mayor attended. We set up tables outside and tents on that event. And basically, we fed over 1,100 or 1,200. And then the year before that, we fed almost the same for that one-day event.
Oh, okay. But and you also say here that you will have a food
Pantry.
A food pantry.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that going to be like where if I need some food, at certain times you're going to be distributing food to?
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
people?
Yes, ma'am. It will not be cooked food. It will be perishables, canned, cereals, things you would get from the food bank that is greatly needed in Montgomery. And they can come. We're not sure about the hours, or we're not sure about the day, because right now we're still in the process of actually getting the funding where we can actually buy those things from the food bank. So that would be a later project we're looking for. So those are projects down the line we're going to be doing.
Okay. But
Brian?
no daycare?
No, ma'am. Daycare next door.
Okay. All right.
Ms. Brown?
I just want everybody to notice that, which exceed the requirement of 1 space per 5 seats. When you look at that 24 paid parking spaces provided on site, so this exceeds.
Yeah, that's
the
typical of the church.
Of 1 space per,
Yeah.
I just want that to be drawn out.
That's typical of the church. But when he talks about this other issue of feeding people and having a food pantry, that can change things. Okay? Not saying it does,
So,
but it can. It's something we got to
Okay, I was going to say, a food pantry, basically, these are people that will actually just come, or either we will bring the food out to them. They're not coming inside the building. They don't have to come
So
inside.
Thanksgiving is the only day where you would have you'd actually
Yes.
serve a meal on site,
Yes.
right?
Outside.
And you have a tent.
Yes.
Okay.
Then-
And all your food, the food pantry is inside the building.
Yes.
And people are coming and going and getting food from the food
Well,
pantry.
we will actually bring it. Some will come inside, and some we will meet along the parking lot. They just get their bags and they're gone.
Okay. Mr. Howell?
If Thanksgiving is the only day you're going to put up a tent and serve food outside, what are the fundraising events? What do they look like?
Okay, the fundraising events, actually, we do a car wash on the side for donations. We may do a barbecue outside where people would drive up and actually get barbecue and basically just get a plate and they're gone. And those funds go back into the church account to actually pay for these classes and the teachers that will be teaching these classes, and also the computers that we need to purchase.
And you might do those at any time?
Yes, sir. According to the stipulation, I think it's 15 days out of a month or a year or something. I think the ordinance were.
What stipulation is that?
Well, when I looked, when you look under the coding for food, you will find where actually you can, as a church, you can actually have 15 fundraisers.
Per year? 15 fundraisers, how often?
I'm not totally certain. I don't have it in front of me, sir.
Okay.
But it is written in articles. Someone that has them?
That's not our guidelines.
Yeah, that's not city guidelines. I think he's talking about probably guidelines for a 501c3
right,
church.
Without.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone in the audience care to address this item?
You entertain a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. My name is Angela Fields. I would like to also speak on the behalf of trying to get this approved. I was the owner and operator at Angela's Kitchen, so I think the ministry have done a wonderful job. We started out on the west side of Montgomery off of Hoke Street, and we only dealt with actually feeding the homeless, but the more we ministered in the area, we seen there was a greater need than just feeding over the holidays. So when we talk about the food pantry is actually to provide for people who have had burnouts, people who have had a job loss within the last month. However, we won't do 100 because we're not financially stable to feed 100. It may be 10 families that we can feed for that month, 5 families that we can feed for that month, but it's a blessing to someone else. And moving over into this neighborhood, it gives us a different environment. People are able to come over and see a different environment, feel safe, and be able to receive the items that they're needed.
Thank you.
Are you closing your other location? Will this be your only location?
Yes, sir. We have closed that location because we could not actually provide for the growth of our ministry. Our ministry is based off community-based, so now we do have sponsors that are coming along to help with the job readiness program and the GED program. But we know to have a good teacher, we have to hire someone who will be independent, who will come in and be faithful to that job. Our goal is to help the community, exceed in the growth of having people out on jobs, not breaking into homes, being able to provide for their families. So also the finances class help the people who come into our organization know how to be stabilized in their finances.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Brown?
No, I feel I have noticed what they have done in the community. They have done a good job, and we are in need of someone else coming into the community to help those people who are walking the street every day and need help. And I know my phone rings all the time, and I'm referring them to different agencies and so forth and so on. So if we can get some extra help, maybe my phone will stop ringing so much.
Any further discussion? Any other questions? Anyone in the audience care to address this item?
Entertain a motion.
I will.
I move that we grant the special exception.
Second.
Have a second, Mr. Prince. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
I am going to ask you to control the parking, and the traffic.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
That's my concern.
Yes, sir.
It's not, I know the property very well.
Yes, sir.
It is, there's not a lot of on-site parking, and if you are as successful as you think you're gonna be, you're probably gonna have some parking issues.
Yes, sir.
And we don't want parking in the right-of-way along Collison Boulevard. They gotta be on site.
Yes, sir.
And then on a heavy day, like heavy traffic, you know, you gotta deal with the traffic coming and going.
Yes, sir.
That's my biggest concern,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4 is presented by Jimmy Smith, representing Thomas Smith, requesting a coverage variance and a variance for an accessory structure without a main dwelling to be located at 91 Fleetwood Drive in an R65S single-family residential zoning district. Mr. Smith?
Yes, my brother owns a lot next door. We've owned both lots all our lives. Our parents live there. He's going to put up a building. He does woodworking. As a hobby, he needs space to undercover to do woodworking. He not commercial or industrial in any way, just a home hobby. Birdhouses, chairs, benches. He gives them away to family and friends. It'll be a rectangle building, gable roof, tin roof, metal siding, couple of windows, overhead door, and a personnel door. No plans to build a main dwelling on the building at any time.
You know why you're here. I mean, you know why this is an issue. You're wanting an accessory structure on a lot that does not have a main dwelling.
Yes.
Okay. The use is hobby?
Yes.
Have you thought about platting this lot with your existing lot? That way you've got this lot with a structure?
We kind of thought about that. We would probably be over the coverage. We thought about that. We would still be over the lot coverage issue, I think. So we would still need to come before you.
Well, you may need a coverage, but it would not then be an accessory structure located on a lot without a main dwelling.
Correct. It would.
Okay.
It would be.
Yeah, you may have a
coverage
issue.
A coverage issue.
You probably don't. You probably would not have a coverage issue.
Okay.
Because then you would have a larger lot.
Yes.
Right, Tanya?
No, he still would.
Huh?
He still would.
He still need a coverage variance? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Board members, question? We've had this before.
This particular,
This issue, yeah. Okay. Any questions, board members? Board members, I'll remind you, we've dealt with this subject before,
Yes.
okay? Did we? Okay. Is anyone in the audience care to address this item? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. That may be the answer.
Greg Parker. I live on Fleetwood Drive.
Okay, Mr. Parker.
What's your name?
Natalie McKenzie. I also live on 32 Fleetwood Drive.
Okay.
Okay, we made some pictures to give you guys like a visual to help y'all kind of see what we're concerned about. Because on that property, like, that's their house. And then they have, there's a carport that has a, you know, like you could put your lawnmowers and things and stuff like that. Well, then you see that other garage back there that's 484 square feet. There's already a huge garage behind their property. And then there's another one back there that's also big, which I've made pictures of these if y'all want to just kind of see what they look like. It's 300 and something square feet. And then on that vacant property, that lot, there's a little metal building to the back of that one, and then there's another wooden building also back there. So there's like 5 storage buildings on that property between the 2 properties that they own, and it's just, that's a lot of buildings.
Okay, now, we're not addressing the lot that has the structure on it.
Right.
Has nothing to do with this issue.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. Don't care what it looks like.
Right.
Don't care how many structures are on it. We're dealing with this one lot where he wants to put a 1,500 square foot new storage building.
Okay.
Okay? Now, when you finish, I'm gonna ask him what he's gonna do about the other structures. Okay?
Okay, well then I guess our biggest concern is that there are other vacant lots out there, and I feel like that's just gonna devalue my property in the neighborhood, because I don't see how that metal building being there is gonna increase the value. Like if someone, like there's a vacant lot beside me and we own one across the street. We have tried to like do revitalization of that little neighborhood.
Right.
You know, we bought a $14,000 house that was atrocious to the neighborhood, you know, and put a lot of money in it, and we have one of the nicest homes on that street. And that's what we're trying to do out there, is build more homes, get more families out there, and build houses on these vacant lots. Because it's a nice neighborhood, and I just cannot see how that's going to value my property out there. It seems like it's going to devalue my property and my home values.
Okay. So you're opposing what he wants to do?
Yes, sir. I don't think
1,500 square foot on that lot.
Yeah, I don't think we could hear real good back there when you said whatever you said, and we just thought it meant for us to come up here.
Sure.
So we're, you know,
You're in opposition to what he wants to do?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yes, sir. Is there anything you'd like to say?
No, she got it.
Okay, got it.
Question.
Okay, Mr. Smith?
I have a question
Okay, for
her.
them?
Uh-huh.
Oh, excuse me. Ms. Shaw's got a question for y'all.
Did I understand?
She's got a question for y'all.
For us.
Yes.
Did I understand you correctly to say that there are currently on the vacant lot, that there are 2 structures on there already?
I have some pictures, if y'all would like to see the pictures.
No, well, let me clarify, Ms. Shaw. She said there were several structures on that lot now, on the back side of that lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to give Mr. Smith the opportunity to address what he's going to do about those.
Okay, but I just wanted to...
Yes, there's several on that lot.
I just wanted to
correct?
make sure
Did I
that
hear-
she said
did you
that there
say 5
were...
different kinds of structures, maybe?
Between the 2.
Right. Oh, between the 2. But on this lot, there's a couple, 2 or 3 now. Right? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That answer your question? Okay.
Mr. Smith, address the existing structures that are there.
There are 2 existing structures. One of them is a portable metal building on skids. One of them is the remains of a chicken coop that we had 50 years ago.
Okay.
Both of those structures will be removed once this building gets put up.
Okay. Gotcha. Any other question, board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a second? If not, I'll entertain another motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we not approve.
Have a motion to deny, or have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion to deny.
The reason for my denial.
Wait a minute, you don't have to give her a motion.
Oh.
No, hold on a minute. Well, I want to get a head count. Motion?
Fine.
Okay, Regina, okay, give us your reason.
My reason for denying is because they're trying to improve the neighborhood, and it's according to the neighbor, it's devaluating the neighbor's property. And we are trying to get improvement within the community, within itself.
Okay. That's the reason for the denial?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Sir, your petition has been denied.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is presented by Ronald Singer, representing Donald and Mill Singer. Request a height variance for a new privacy fence to be located at 253 Tensall Road in an Agricultural 2 zoning district. Mr. Singer?
Good evening, sir. Good
Hello.
evening, board members. I'm here with my wife, I'm a retired Air Force chief. Did 30 years in the Air Force and just retired last spring and moved to Montgomery and bought the house we live in now in June. And we need to replace the existing privacy fence. As you can see from the handouts I think you have, it runs along the little yellow line, and that's the only section we're doing.
Hold on, sir. Let us
yes.
look at our agenda here. Everybody will look at we've got that in here.
Okay.
Let us get to that, please. Okay, so let me interrupt you a minute.
Sure.
The 9-foot high privacy fence, which is the reason you're here,
yes,
is
sir.
the one shown in yellow on this drawing.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And that's the only section that we're asking for a variance for.
Okay.
As you go on down, it turns into chain link, and it runs down to the end, and then it runs across. And then the other side, the neighbor has a tall wall along there. And coming up in the front where the red line is, there's no fence, and I'm not putting one in. So anyway, as you can, the reason we're trying to do it, though, is one, it's old, but the main reason, as you can see from those other two photographs right here, I'll let you get to the other page right there, and the next one. You can see that privacy fence is sitting down at 191-foot elevation. My back patio is at 197-foot elevation. In the backyard is maybe a foot or so lower than that. So from the near backyard, right behind my house here, and looking across over to the neighbor's backyard and all this area, that doesn't serve as a privacy fence. We're looking right over it at each other. So Originally, I asked for a 2-foot variance to build a 9-foot fence, but my neighbor did object to it, and so I've looked at how I can go back and if there was anything I could do. When I originally came up with 9 foot, I talked to 5 different fence companies, and they looked at it, and they all said, I'm going to need 9 or more to get some privacy because the way it sits down so low in between the properties there, just inside my line. Now, when he objected, I went back to the fence company. We looked at it again. We looked at the angles, the elevation, all that, and I did whatever I could do to lower it. So right now, I'd like to lower my variance down to 1.5 feet and go for 8.5 foot, and that was the bare minimum that would get. I mean, with that, looking basically just about head height. If you go down any more below that, because of the angle as you drop that view down, it just isn't going to provide privacy. So that's one thing I did to try to address the height issue. The other thing I've tried to do is make sure this thing looks nice and is built well. So I've gone with a fence company in the local area that's won a couple of awards, best of, they're actually located up in Prattville, but they won best, I believe it was, anyway, they won a couple of awards up there. I have the information, but, and we spec'd out this fence to be stronger than normal. It's going to use cypress vertical slats. Mm-hmm. It's going to use 6x6 uprights instead of the standard 4x4. They'll be sunk in with concrete and all that, so this thing should be strong. I'm going with screws instead of nails to make sure it lasts and doesn't come apart or look bad in the future, any of that. And so I'm trying to do everything I can to alleviate any concerns with it, but I really do need some privacy from my family and I. It's just important to our well-being, and so I really do ask if you could approve this.
I noticed the proposed fence you want to put in also is across a portion across the front of your.
Yes, it is going to run.
Is that necessary?
Right here?
Yes.
We will put a new fence in, but it won't be the full 8.5 feet. When I come up this way, it will slope up towards the house, and the fence will stay level on top, and it will, as it comes up to the house, it will stay flat, and so by the end, it will be, I don't know, but it won't be 8.5 feet. I suspect it will be about this much lower. And, you know, if need be...
It'll be less than 8.5.
Oh, yes. It will be less than 8.5. Where it meets the house, it will be, I would say, at least a foot less than 8.5.
Okay. Any questions, board members?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
How tall is the fence that you have now?
The fence I have now, sir, is 6 feet.
6 feet?
Yes.
And that's what's in this picture?
That is what is in the picture, yes,
okay.
Sir.
That's 6 feet, so you're going to go up about a third higher.
I'm going to, yeah, it'd be 2.5 feet above what is at now.
Yeah. Okay.
And as this goes down the hill here, it also drops away, the elevation drops away a little bit. You can see, I think you can see it in the picture, both the pictures. You can see how it kind of noses down as you go on down. So also you can see the line of sight. If you're looking from the neighbor's backyard across the tip of that fence and over, you're still looking across a portion of my backyard. And when you get down to this far corner right here, that's a very high wood wall. And so that's all you're going to see is a wood wall. If the fence wasn't there, you're going to see either my yard or a wall. Behind us is nothing but forest. So, I mean, it's still, I don't think it's affecting the view.
Okay. Any other questions, board members? Anyone in the audience care to address this item? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Bobby Bryan. I am the neighbor that is represented on that picture that's above you, that's on the right-hand side. I didn't know if I was going to be able to be here tonight, so I did previously submit an email with a statement of opposition. I trust that you have it in your package. I do need a clarification. I thought I heard him say 1.5 foot reduction. Is it 1.5 foot or a half foot?
Down, my variance was a 2-foot request. I'm coming down to 1.
It's a half-foot reduction.
Okay, all right.
Instead of 9 foot, I understood him to say the maximum height would be 8.5.
I would still be in objection or in opposition to that requested height. Again, if I could refer you to that picture that is above you, and I also brought a couple of pictures if it would, I only brought 2, I'm sorry I didn't bring enough for each member of the board, but as you can see, my courtyard of the house there is facing basically due north. When we're on our back porch, which is underneath, you can make out the roof line for the back porch in the courtyard area, we cannot even see their house. So I really don't know what the issue of privacy is. As I stated in my statement of opposition, privacy in Montgomery, if you're in any subdivision, you do not have complete privacy. And if you're seeking 100% privacy, and I don't know privacy from what, I honestly don't know how you achieve that in any subdivision in this town. 7-foot fence, you know, it was approved as part of the code for a reason. And if there's going to be a new fence put in, I would certainly request the board to make that as an approval.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Bryan? So, Mr. Bryan, let me make sure I understand, or the board understands, you are opposed to his request to go above 7 feet?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right.
But the fence that's there now is 6 feet.
It is 6 feet, and if I could do a 7-foot fence and get any kind of privacy, I would do it. I wouldn't be down here asking for a variance. The only reason I'm asking for a variance, every little bit I go up costs me more money, and But the only reason I'm asking for that variance is so I can stand out in my backyard or stand at my patio at my grill and just have some privacy. Like he said, from his patio, from tucked back in that alcove of his house, he's right, he can't see directly across. He can see a good portion of my backyard, though. From anywhere else, but I have to tell you, he does not obviously stay in his patio. And from everywhere else in his backyard, he can see my windows, bedroom, den, he can see my patio, he can see whatever I do is open to the public. And, you know, like I said, I've tried to make sure this is the minimum height I can go, but if I go less than 8.5 feet, we will be looking across the top of the fence at each other. And I'm not trying to go all the way down the hill. I'm certainly not trying to block any view. Both the houses have plenty of view of nature. We're not cramped in by any means, as you can see. These are large lots, and the houses, you know, behind us are backed up to a large forest of the Macklemores own that land back there. And so there's plenty of opportunity to, you know, view and all that. The only view it's going to block is the view into my backyard, and even that won't be anywhere near completely blocked. But I got to tell you, I just need a little bit of privacy because I've been through a lot over the years, and I've come here to try to rest, and it's hard to do when you're being watched and when you don't have privacy.
Well, this board respects privacy, and we try to reach a compromise whenever we can. Any other questions, board members? Anyone else care to address this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Let me ask a question first. How could you get along with moving it 1 foot instead of 1.5?
No, I've called for the motion, so
Okay.
so go ahead and make your motion.
I move that we grant the 1.5 foot height variance for a new privacy fence.
You're moving for
That's
1.5
not what
foot
it is.
variance. That's your motion.
That's what's on the paper.
Okay,
1.5.
that's what he's agreed to do. 1.5 foot variance.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I have a motion to approve a 1.5 foot height variance.
Second.
Have a second. Any further discussion?
Well, my discussion would he be?
No.
I can't-
Okay, I'm sorry. Now you can. I'm sorry. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Would he be satisfied instead of 1.5, 1 foot less?
Well, you've already made the motion at 1.5 of it.
Okay, well, go on and kill that one and come on back and I'll give you another.
Well,
Why?
you
Before
made a
that,
motion.
I have a question.
Time out. Ms. Brown made a motion to approve at 1.5, and I got a second. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so we will deal with that motion on the table.
Okay.
Okay? All in favor of that motion, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You got the 1.5 foot variance.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, board members.
Okay.
So how tall is the fence gonna be? 8.5.
I looked at it.
Don't wear my helmet. All right, where are we? I'll find myself here. All right, item number 6, presented by Pilgrim Engineering, representing Columbus Square, requesting an exception to Smart Code for a new monument ID sign to be located at 645 Columbus Street in the T4R zoning district. Mr. Pilgrim, I can't tell you what we can do tonight for you. It's all over the place tonight.
Yeah, I agree. This is
you engineers enjoying yourself tonight, aren't you? Go ahead.
This site is the old Trenum Court project, and we're building Columbus Square is building the first phase there now in the Smart Code. The Smart Code does not allow for monument signs. there's no entrance off of North Union Street. The entrance is actually around on Bainbridge, and the sign is going to be up on the property. As you ride by, you'll be able to see it. But they need some type of identification sign for this, and this sign is probably maybe a foot longer than this podium and you know, foot wide and not as tall as I am, so it won't be a real obtrusive. And I believe there's
lit, Pep? How is it lit? Backlit?
I don't think it has lights. Spotlight. Uplight.
Bulb light? Ground lit? Ground lit?
Ground lit.
Okay. Okay. Just solid white light. Correct?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
fluorescent.
not
open.
blinking and all that kind of stuff.
No,
okay?
no. It's just to let you know where you are.
Yeah. But it's a white ground lit sign. Correct?
Right, and that's really the only identification that'll be for your entrance there. Of course, there are a couple of entrances in other places.
Okay. Well, it looks very tasteful. Any question, Mr. Pilgrim? Anyone in the audience care to address this item? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Mr. Prince, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Mr. Prince? Unanimous.
Thank you, that was easy.
Thank you, Pep. Item 7 presented by Flowers and White Engineering representing First Baptist Church Nehemiah Center, requesting a rear yard variance for an addition to a building located at 221 Broadway Street in an R65D zoning district. Mr. Flowers, I'm going to have to recuse myself, and you know why? Because I'm a member of First Baptist Church, and so I don't want there to be a conflict of interest. So, Ms. Brown?
Oh, that's why you had that over here.
You can take this one.
All right.
Now, before I say any further, because I recused myself, you got 5 people. You got to have a unanimous approval here for this to be approved. Are you okay with that?
I'm good.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. We'll hear from Mr. Flowers.
Yes, ma'am. Brad Flowers with Flowers and White Engineering, representing First Baptist Church, Community Ministries, and the Nehemiah Center. What we've got is First Baptist has a outreach center called the Nehemiah Center right here on Broadway Street. We've got an existing gym and a couple other buildings there that they do classes in and a lot of outreach into the community. What they're proposing is to come on the back side of the gym and build a new building or an addition to the back corner of the gym. The way you're looking at it, be the northwest corner. But when we do that, because we're already too close to the line per the zoning ordinance, the rear line, we're going to extend off of that line. And so we are legal non-conforming, but we're going to be expanding that, so therefore we have to come to you. This property at one point in time was all a single parcel. It was owned by the Elks, and I can't remember who else, that had the building to the north of us. When First Baptist Church went in there and purchased the south side, basically they made an agreement, and we came back a couple years ago and platted that, or replatted it into 2 lots. And when we did so, the plat, obviously the lot line went where it is now, and that's why the building is positioned where it is, because it was originally part of the Elks building that's just north of it. So what we're asking is basically to expand, basically keeping the same rear line that is on there now, and just go to the west.
You've heard Mr. Flowers, according to what he's asking of us. Any questions from the board?
No.
Are you going to be the same building, or are you going to put another building?
No, it's just an expansion off of the existing building. That northwest corner of the existing gymnasium will come off of that building right there. And I don't know if you've got the drawing with the dimensions on that, but it's going to be 36 feet by 33 feet, so it'll extend out 36 feet to the west from the existing. Okay. It'll just be off of that corner.
No closer to the line, just to the west.
No closer to the line. We're going to match the back, so I mean,
gotcha.
Obviously if that back line is skewed a little bit, it'll be what it is, but we're holding straight down that line.
Gotcha. Any other questions from board members?
Yeah, I do have a question. Okay, you.
To the mic, please.
I am. You saying that It's coming off of the rear property line. So the current building is already 12 feet
Yes.
from the rear property line?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because it's not going past that, it's
No.
staying in line with the current building.
It's staying in line with that back line, and that's what I was just telling Mr. Prince. If that building's on a little bit of a skew, we're just basically following that back line straight across. But the way we've got it shown, it's 12.2 feet. On one corner, the closest will be 12 feet on the far corner, and that is because of that little bit of a skew. But not an addition behind what's there. It's just going to continue that line straight down.
Okay, so when the existing building was built, you didn't have to get a variance?
Well, that's what I was saying. It was all part of the Elks Foundation or whoever owned that building to the north of us. It was all part of that. That was the gymnasium that was being used for the building to the north. It was all one big project, one big parcel, so there wasn't a problem. And then we replatted it, and when we replatted it, that building was already there, but we divided the two properties, so we platted with that building in existence as a legal non-conforming to separate the properties. And the only reason we're here, if this was not that close, we could just do the expansion, but we're extending out, so we're extending a legal non-conforming into this new building, so that's why, even though we're holding the same setback, we have to come to you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
You entertain a motion?
Let me ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this item. Anyone? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Williams. All in favor? 5. All
Got
nays?
Abstain.
1 abstention.
Recuse.
It has
Thank you
been
very
passed.
much.
Got it. Thank you, Brad.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Item 8 is presented by Essence Drake and Benjamin Larkin, requesting a variance to ordinance number 17-2014 for a building located at 1824 Mount Meigs Road in a B2 zoning district.
Good afternoon, Board.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
First of all, we'd like to thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak before you this evening. My name is Essence Drake, and beside me is Benjamin Larkin. Benjamin Larkin owns the property located at 1824 Mount Meigs Road. The property was formerly Larkin Fine Furniture, which was owned by his father, Benjamin Larkin Sr., until his death in 2015. Benjamin Larkin is here before you today in pursuit of his own entrepreneurial goals. For this location, we envision a sports bar, a place where people can come and play pool or maybe catch a game on television, have a drink, and a good time. We are asking for permission to operate a bar or lounge that will serve alcoholic beverages on the premises. Specifically, we're requesting special exception to the 250-foot rule for a bar. And what really prompted us to come before you today is that a similar business has successfully been granted a special exception just a couple of blocks up the road. So we humbly ask for your approval of this request.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know why you're here, and that's because you're within the 35 feet of the closest residential property.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there no way you could get a little further away by taking another part of the building?
Well, and I actually had a question about that. The front-facing property is actually 1824 Mount Meigs Road, but the property on the side of the building on Arthur Street is his property as well. But those two buildings in the back would not be being utilized for the bar anyway. So I think we would have a little bit more of a clearance if we actually use the door that ended the property at 1824.
Yeah. Well, that's the concern.
Okay.
Okay, so you are going to be serving alcoholic beverages?
Yes, sir.
Inside the building?
Yes, sir.
What about outside the building?
No, sir.
What about music outside the building?
No music.
Okay. Where's your parking going to be?
There are parking spaces along the front entrance of the building and also on the Arthur Street side of the building.
Okay. It's kind of thin on the Arthur Street side. I don't see any parking on the Arthur Street side. You'd be parking in the street, won't you?
No, sir. There's roughly, I brought a picture. I don't know how clear the parking would be. I can bring it to you if you'd like to see it.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't see any parking here. Huh? That's on the side? Okay. And so the space that you're talking about is that end space right there? So everybody will see that space?
Yes, sir.
And that's the one
Mr.
that's 35
Stanley.
feet from the adjacent property.
We can't hear
I'm
what you're
sorry.
talking about.
Okay. Okay, you go back. Okay, what she's showing you here is a side view of the building where there's parking. And at the far end of that picture is the space that they want to occupy. It's 35 feet from the residential property.
Oh, that little.
That little, on the end, right?
Yeah, that little one-story space.
I'm sorry?
That part there.
And then that second picture, I think there's approximately 8 to 10 spaces. I'm not sure. I can't quote you that with
But
accuracy.
the space is the space on the end of the building.
Right, yes, sir.
And so you're saying that's the only space that works for you, nothing up front?
Oh, there's maybe 5 or 6 places up front. We realize that parking would be somewhat of an issue. Totally, there may be 15 to 20 spaces altogether. Mr. Larkin, due to his family's history in the area, has befriended some of the neighboring business owners and are asking for permission for excessive parking if needed.
Right. Well, we're not here to deal with parking.
Right.
We're here to deal with your distance
Exactly.
from the residential neighborhood.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And so what I'm getting at is there another part of the building you could go to that puts you further away from the residential neighborhood?
No, sir.
Okay. You're saying that's it?
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
is she saying she's using the entire building or just the back side?
Are you using the whole building or the back side?
We're not using the whole building, we're using the front side. The back side is 2 additional spaces.
Well, the back side is what's within 35 feet. I'm totally confused now.
Me too. See, we're under the impression, or at least I am,
Okay.
that you were going to be using the back end of the building, which is 35 feet from the residential neighborhood.
No, sir, it would be the front
You're going to be using
entrance.
the front part of the
Yes,
building.
sir.
And the front is
Then
the
we don't
part
have
that
a correct
faces Mount
measurement.
Meigs Road.
Do what, Helen?
Yes,
We do
sir.
not have a correct measurement.
We don't have a correct measurement then.
Okay.
We need to know where the
You're
doors
going to have to
are and what she's
resubmit
using.
and come back,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Because what's on part of our agenda and what they were given were the impression that you were going to be on the back end of the building and 35 feet from the residential lot.
No, sir.
You're
Those,
further away than that.
Right.
And for your benefit, we need to get that distance correct.
Right.
So you make a correct decision.
Right.
So you'll have to resubmit and come back next month.
okay, so y'all
Okay.
just need corrected
You'll have to
measurements.
get with them, give them correct measurement.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
I'm not saying it'll be approved, but we
I
gotta
understand.
have the correct information.
I understand. Thank you.
I know what I'm going.
Yeah, okay?
Is that it?
You can have your picture back. Thank you. Sorry about the delay.
60 years ago, my dentist was in that.
You did? Okay, thank you. Item 9 is presented by Alfonso Lopez, requesting a special exception to keep chickens and ducks on the property located at 312 and 314 South Capitol Parkway, R60S Single Family Zoning District. Mr. Lopez.
Yes, and good afternoon. Thank you for receiving me today. Well, the idea is to keep the flock in the house for 2 reasons. It's like entertainment, education for my kids, actually, and also for allowing one of my sons to be close to the animals, to pet them, to be like a little something to do. It's actually teach them responsibilities. This is my reason. I know we are in the borderline because we are in a residential area, but because we have a very backyard, so we can have it actually, after reading the requirements for the chickens, move them to the completely back of the house, the yard, so we cannot bother anyone. Right now we are very close to the neighbors. Maybe there were complaints about that, but we want to fulfill all the requirements to have them.
Okay, we've heard and approved a lot of these with chickens. But
Yes.
I don't think we've approved any with ducks, okay?
Yeah.
And ducks make a lot of noise. I know that. Now,
Yes.
there's been a complaint. I don't know of anybody that might be here. Would you
Yes.
have a reason? Would you know why that there was a complaint?
I think so because actually what we have reading the code that we have them very close to the house. So because we were close to my house, the code said I need to be far away or so far from any neighbor. You don't see here in this picture, but maybe in
Well,
a real picture, you see that there are two houses nearby in the porch.
Normally,
Yeah.
if there's a complaint,
Yes.
it's because of the noise
Uh-huh.
or insects
Uh-huh.
or smell.
Yes.
So would you think the complaint was a result of any one of those three I just named?
Probably yes, because then, well, the noise because they're close to the house and the other houses are nearby.
Noise?
Huh?
Noise?
Yeah, probably the noise, I don't know.
From the ducks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know. We don't know exactly the reason, but now moving them away, we know many. I mean, the animals make very nice noises for someone, but I don't know.
So you've had the chickens and the ducks there for how long?
Like probably 4 or 6 months, something like that.
Okay.
We got it as a chick. That was good for the boys to see them grow and everything. Now they are bigger, of course. They are needed more space.
Have you got have you complied with the proper guidelines for the chicken coop?
Now we're going to do that, yes. But at the beginning,
have
they were in the backyard just running wild. But now we have in a fence actually, but it's close to the house. So we're going to move it completely to the back lot.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I wonder if he can get along with one or the other.
Well, the ducks are the ones that are
That's
typically
what
the
I'm
problem.
saying.
So, Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Would you be willing to eliminate the ducks? My guess is the ducks are the problem.
Yes, well, the dogs, yeah, they're no problem. We can keep the chicken, the dogs, or we found a family in the farm that maybe can take it from us. Yes.
Okay, so your answer is yes.
Yeah, if needed, if requested, I mean.
Gotcha. Okay. That answers your question?
Yes.
Any further question, board members?
Entertain a
I'll
motion.
entertain a motion.
I move that we grant the special exception to keep 6 chickens.
Only.
No ducks, only.
Right.
Yeah.
6 chickens.
The dogs are four, 5 dogs, I don't know, yeah.
And eliminate the ducks within what period
Eliminate
of
the
time?
ducks completely
Within what, a week?
within 1 week.
Okay.
Second.
Have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. You understand?
Yeah, I understand, yeah, completely.
Okay. The ducks are, I gotta believe, are the problem.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So you got 6 chickens, no roosters now,
Mm-hmm.
and you can get rid of the ducks within a week.
Okay, we'll find a home for them.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your help.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Item 10, presented by Good Mills and Kaywood, representing Storage World, Inc., requesting a front yard variance for a new ID sign to be located, 3009 McGee Road in a B2 zoning district. Okay.
Lost one.
Max, you lost one, that means you gotta have 100% approval. You okay with that?
I am okay with that.
Okay.
Max Vaughn, Good Mills and Kaywood, I commend y'all for y'all's efforts and dedication and time. I do.
Hey, it's great, let me tell you.
We are asking for a variance for 2 signs to be located 5 feet from the property line. 10 feet is the required distance. Many months ago, we came before the board and asked for some variances in regards to this site. One of the things that was discussed was the front area of landscaping and curbing. It was established. It was very attractive to the neighborhood at the time. Part of that is the reasoning for our request for these signs. So I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Okay, so you're gonna be within 5 feet of the front property line where it's 10 foot required. Any questions, board members? One of the elders care to address this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved, have a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Shaw. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. You got it. Thank you, Max.
Thank y'all. Have a good evening.
Good to see you again, Max.
Yep.
All right, to have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All in favor of adjourning this meeting, all right, say aye.
Aye.